Hey everybody, welcome back to some more early morning barking, talking about BPD and MPD by somebody that has both. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons and do all the socially things scrolling past you on the screen right now. Follow me on Patreon as well. There's some awesome stuff on there, and there's a Discord and lots of other cool stuff too. That was a bit of a lackluster, so go and look for yourself. Honestly, there's a link in the description below. Right, so today's a sort of mixed bag of things, and I want to talk about not getting angry and not getting wound up, and that's basically the gist of it. I said that a weird word just then. I was going to say wound up, and wind up was in my head, and it came up in that weird sound that I made that I feel is actually too good to edit out at this point, so I'm going to leave it in, and we'll assume that you know what I'm talking about. In life, things are sent to testers. Things are sent to testers every minute of every day. It can be excruciating sometimes. And my way of dealing with this, the classic narcissistic way of dealing with this, can be to rage at stuff. Just get angry at it, shout until it goes away instead of rising above it and being better than that rage. And this comes up most of all when people are provoking us, right? I mean, people say hurtful things. People do things that poke the bear one way or another. Whether they're doing it on purpose or not, we all have our triggers. I made a video a long time ago, I think, called Raging Against Control, where I was talking about a particular rage trigger of mine is when I'm starting to feel like somebody's trying to control me. And this indeed has actually come out, now I think about it, since I made that video. There have been probably another couple of examples of me losing my shit one way or another at somebody who in some way I felt was trying to control me or affect me in a way that I couldn't do anything about. We have these little pokes, these sensitive areas, and it's important for us to know where they are. They're going to be different for everyone. They're going to be different for each of us, and you've got to work that one out for yourself. Clearly the control thing is one for me, and there'll be others, and they'll be different for you, of course. And when these things get pushed, when these buttons get tweaked, it's so hard to not rage against it. But in actual fact, we have to try and flip things around. And this is where things get a bit more interesting, because it's where we as people with NPD or narcissistic traits, aware NPD and aware narcissistic traits, can sort of join on the same side as people who have none of these traits but have undergone an experience of people with the unaware versions of these traits. The people who've undergone that abusive behavior and that unpleasant life. We can actually join together in this bit, because what we're going to do is sort of analyze why somebody's doing things to push our buttons. Because that's an important way of dealing with it, right? We need to know somebody else's motivation. We need to know what they're trying to get out of what they're doing. Because they're not doing stuff randomly, right? They've got a purpose. They're saying stuff that is hurting us one way or another, so what are they getting out of it? Are they aware of it, for a start? Well, in the case of people with unaware narcissistic traits, yeah, they are. They're aware that they're hurting people. They're not aware that they have unaware narcissistic traits. They're unaware. That's the point. But beyond that, we're going to run into people who actually don't know that they're hurting us. People who aren't doing it on purpose. But we're also going to run into people who are. And when we run into the people who are, and we can tell the difference, right? It's easy to tell the difference when somebody's purposefully hurting us compared to not. And we rage at people the same, right? I talk about leaving retail employees alone. do that so much. I continue with that advice. Don't get angry at people who have to face you. It's not their fault. They're not trying to push your buttons. They're not trying to hurt you. They are afraid of you and they can't do anything about it, right? So the people who we know it's not their fault, we know, and we need to leave them the hell alone. I cannot stress that enough. But the people who are doing it and they don't care, or they're doing it on purpose, then we have to start to look at why. And we know why, right? We've got the inside scoop on that. We've done it. We've been there. We've been that person, right? We know why we hurt others. It's because they've hurt us. It's because we're in pain. It's because we're lashing out at the world because something is hurting us and we can't stop it. We can't deal with it in a more positive way. That seems a strange way of putting it. Dealing with it in a more positive way. A less negative way seems the better way of looking at it. Because hurting somebody is not a good way of dealing with our own pain, right? As aware people with narcissistic traits and NPD, we're aware of that. We know that we don't hurt people to feel better about ourselves, and that transferring this pain, projecting this pain that we feel is not a good way of dealing with it. But we can so very often run up against these people who are dealing with their pain in the same way. And they're trying to hurt us. Or we're just in the firing line. Or we happen to be the person that is there. Whatever. And that's bad enough for neurotypical people, right? But for us, it can push buttons. It can cause escalation. You bite me, I'll bite you back harder. Twice. Try it. If somebody's pushing that right button, then things can go nuts. And that's not going to be good for anybody. That's not going to get anybody anywhere. It's not going to achieve anything, and it may end horrifically, depending on your situation and the people involved. So one of us has to be big enough and strong enough to say no. And if I'm talking to people who are aware of their narcissistic traits and NPD, then it falls to us, which sucks. Because this is the hardest thing you'll ever have to do, right? Have somebody do something that feels like an attack. Because that's how these things feel when someone pushes our buttons. It's an attack. And you're not gonna smack them down. You're not gonna lash out. You're not gonna do whatever it is you do to destroy somebody. Because we're aware, right? And if we're aware and we know that those things are wrong, then we move into dangerous territory for ourselves. Right? People with narcissistic traits and NPD can cause a lot of harm. And I don't think we're in any way not responsible for that harm or shouldn't take responsibility for it. But to a certain extent, I do feel we are cushioned by the fact that this is a mental health condition that makes us behave in a way that we don't want to behave. And we do the bad things that we do because we are unaware that those things are bad things. And the second that we become aware that they are, then they have to stop. Because then that's not a mental health problem anymore. Then we're responsible fully, totally. So much so, you know you're doing a bad thing and you can't do that anymore. And so, if we know that being poked and biting back twice as hard and twice as much causes an escalation, causes this to end badly, then we have to do nothing. I feel awful saying it. I feel weak and pathetic. I feel, I don't know, uneasy about that idea. Just let somebody hit me effectively and go, okay, thank you, and not hit back. It's hard. It's really hard. But it's essential. It's absolutely essential. This is how things should be correctly dealt with, by not hitting back. Because look, you're just going to escalate it. You're not going to achieve anything. We've established this. And it drags you in and it makes you feel bad and you lose. And the other person, if they're lashing out at you, if they're doing something to hurt you, if they're pushing your buttons and they're doing it on purpose, then they aren't going to be changed by you hitting back. Right? They're not doing it to you as such. They are lashing out. They're going through pain. They're going through whatever it is they're going through. And you're there, so they're hurting you. It's almost, it feels bad once you're aware. You can't lash out. You can't hit back. You know you're hitting a person in pain. And in hitting, I mean not hitting. You know what I'm saying. I'm using it metaphorically. You're striking back at someone in pain who's having trouble expressing that pain. Can you, with good moral judgment, do that? You know what that pain is. You know how difficult it is to express that. And maybe you're fortunate enough to have gotten this far that you can express things more correctly now. Do we have the right to lose our shit at the people who can't? Really? Do we? Us? I don't know. I think we actually have the responsibility of being the ones who understand, who actually don't get angry at people when they lash out at us, no matter what they say. We're the most equipped to deal with it, right? Say what the fuck you want to me. I don't care. I've got my own opinions of myself, and they're pretty good, thank you. So first of all, how can you hurt me, really? How can you do that? How is that possible? And on top of that, I've been there. I've felt that pain. I've felt that anguish, that need to express something and not being able to get it out. So there's understanding. There's empathy there. Because we're aware and we have empathy now. So, okay, people who poke the bear, bring it on. We can be above that. We can rise above it because we know what's going on. We've been there, we've done it. And we know what you feel like, and we know it sucks. And we know that you perhaps just need help expressing things properly. And maybe that would help if you could do that. So that's how you overcome it all. That's how we move on. We realize that not only is getting angry bad for us, and all of the classic things that we know about being angry, I'm not telling you anything new about that, right? Is being angry bad for you emotionally? Oh God, is it? Yeah, right? I'm going to tell you smoking's bad for you. We don't need it in our lives. And we don't need to have these buttons that can be pushed by people who we know are just in pain. We rise above it. We'd be better than that. We've moved on. We're further down the road in our journey. And there are people who are behind us. And I feel like we have some sort of responsibility to drag those people up with us. We made it. They can make it. And if we can help by not getting angry back, by giving some sort of understanding and empathy, using these skills that we've learned in our journey, then we can avoid getting angry. It's something we don't need, and we can rationalize ourselves out of it. I hope that helps. I feel pretty good about that one. You take care. I'll see you later. Bye.